call lined up tonight with a really awesome person who I was actually business partners with for a couple of years. So excited to get this one started. So for those of you who are first time to this call, the way it works is we typically start out with a discussion, and it's an open Q&A. So if you guys have questions, you can put them in the chat box or in the question box. Kennedy will be fielding them. If you want to actually jump up onto the Zoom, you just raise your hand and we'll call you up in the order in which your hand was raised, and we can go back and forth. Also, this call will be recorded. It'll be emailed out to you afterwards, and it'll also be posted on our YouTube. And excuse my dogs. They have no manners. They just bark. Anytime I'm on a call, I like to bark. So, cool. We'll kick it off. Jack, are you there?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, guys, this is Jack McColl. Jack and I go way back. A lot of you guys know my story. A lot of you guys know my story about hoverboards. That was the first thing I ever sold. And when I started selling hoverboards, I was trying to figure out how to sell them. And Jack was the person I knew with the most Instagram followers at the time. He was a professional snowboarder, really great following. And I was like, maybe if Jack posts on his Instagram, people will buy these hoverboards. And that was my segue into influencer marketing. We posted, Jack loved the product. We had a lot of synergies. We partnered up, and Jack brought a lot of relationships to really big influencers to the table, and we built a great business. And then from there, we actually went out to China together. We went to the Canton Fair. We flew out there. We had no idea what we were doing, and we were looking for the next hot product to sell. And we found those inflatable loungers that you guys know that I sold, and Jack was my partner in that. So we were living in LA. We were hustling, grinding. We were really just rolling all of our money back into inventory, just getting started. So Jack and I were together when we were really getting things off the ground. So very sentimental friend and old business partner. Now Jack has taken some turns in his career. He's went on to sell multiple companies for six-figure exits, and has taken up a passion in the credit space. So I know a lot of you guys, at least we actually pulled some data from Zendrop, and we noticed that, I don't know if Kennedy, was it 40% of people or 60% of people use debit cards?
It was 43% of people.
So 43% of people on Zendrop are fulfilling their orders with debit cards, which you're missing out on so many benefits. A, access to capital, B, points, all that stuff. So we were like, we want to bring on someone who's an expert in hacking the credit system, how to get the best cards, how to leverage your points, what you can do with the points, things like that. And I reached out to Jack, and he was nice enough to jump on and give you guys some insight. So Jack, if you want to introduce yourself and kind of jump into some stuff, I'll be right back because I have to put my dinner in the oven. My timer's about to go off, and I'll be right back with Kennedy and Jack. You guys take it away.
Awesome. Well, Jared, thank you so much for having me on the call today. I'm excited to be here, and I'm really here just to provide as much free value as possible to anyone listening on the call. Just in the last year alone, I've been approved for over $300,000 in credit cards. And I teach people these same exact strategies on how to get approved for top limits or top cards with extremely high limits in a very short period of time. And I really started my journey in credit, in business with Jared many years ago. And I think that was a main reason why we were able to excel so quick. And since then, I've scaled multiple six-figure businesses, sold multiple for six figures. My e-commerce company now, it just hit seven figures. And that's really only possible with credit. There's so much more that's possible when you have access to more money. And I really realized that the more money you can borrow, the more money you can make, right? So if you have, $20,000 of your personal savings and you want to start a business, and you use that personal savings into that business, that's one way you can go about it. The second route is to borrow money through 0% interest business cards, put your personal savings in the stock market or real estate or crypto. now you have more money working for you. And because of that, you're making more money in the grand scheme of things. So for anyone watching the video, these are all my credit cards right here, over 300K just in the last year alone. And that really started out by having good relationships with the banks and building personal credit. So that's the first step, is build your personal credit. Because when you apply for business cards, the only thing they're looking at is, what does your personal credit look like? What's the business type, the estimated revenue, and the relationship with the bank. So that's why it's so important to have all four of those things in check. And for anyone on this call in e-commerce, that's one of the main companies that banks like to lend to, because types of companies, because they have explosive growth, very low overhead, very explosive projections, and it's very low risk to lenders. So for anyone in e-commerce, they have it made right there. So that takes that checks the box. Now it's the relationship with the bank. So you want to have bank accounts with all the banks you're applying for, and you want to obviously have a high estimated revenue. And on the application, the banks are asking, what's your projected revenue, right? And we love to be extremely optimistic, right? An e-commerce business can absolutely explode in a very short period of time. And then the last thing is your personal credit. And so before anyone starts getting the business cards, you want to make sure you have your personal credit completely in check. And what I mean by that is, you want to have multiple accounts, ideally 5 primary credit card accounts or more. You can do it with less, but 5 minimum is a very, very good start. And then things like utilization, you want to make sure that your utilization on each account is less than 30% on every single account. And real quick, so the big difference between a personal credit card and a business credit card is that business credit cards don't report to your personal credit. And so why that's incredible, for a couple different reasons, is one, you can get, say, for example, a $20,000 0% interest business card, use that on inventory, use that on anything, leave a balance, and it won't affect your credit score whatsoever. And so most of these cards I'm holding in my hand are business cards, and most of them have full balances, and I have an 805 FICO score across all 3 bureaus. The second reason why business cards are awesome because they don't report is because, since they don't report, after you receive a hard inquiry after applying for the business card, you can actually get those hard inquiries removed on the business accounts because they're not reported to your personal credit. And so once your personal credit is good, you can do a business round business credit card sequence, get approved for like 6 to 8 cards in one sequence, remove all of those inquiries on those business accounts, and then do another sequence for more banks. So it's quite incredible when
Jack,
these.
real quick, can you explain that one more time? How you can, just the last thing you said for the last 30 seconds. I'm trying to follow along, and that sounds really interesting.
Of course. So on a personal credit card, or anytime you open up a credit card, or anytime someone checks your credit, you get a hard inquiry, right? More hard inquiries, the more risky you look. When you get a personal account opened, you can't remove that hard inquiry on the personal account because that personal card is on your personal credit. But when you get a business card, because that business card doesn't report to your personal credit, you can get that hard inquiry removed, because when they see your personal credit, they don't see that business card on your personal credit. And so if you dispute it, it's very easy to get off.
And how would you go about disputing something like that to get it off of your credit?
Yeah, so you can do a few different ways. You can just one, tell them, you don't recognize it. It wasn't something you did. It wasn't something you recognize. I don't know about that card. Secondly, you can just dispute inaccuracies. There's tons of inaccuracies with the bureaus because the information has to get passed over through multiple different departments, and usually there's inaccuracies. Or just hire a credit repair specialist just to do an inquiry sweep, and it's extremely easy. You can get it removed in 30 to 60 days.
So you're saying that you could open up essentially as many business cards as you want, and you can keep getting them removed, so you can open up more credit cards, so you don't have those hard inquiries.
Exactly.
Is that a tactic that you use to get so many business credit cards?
100%.
So
yeah, and so go for it.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so that's why it's so important that you have very strong personal credit, And, by strong, I'll just, I'll repeat myself. You want at least 5 primary accounts reporting on your personal credit, and you want as much age as possible and as many on-time payments as possible. So payment history and utilization are the 2 biggest factors in your credit, about a third each. So payment history is super, super important. So never miss a payment. Don't be late on any payments whatsoever. Turn auto pay on. And then also, in terms of your age and your payment history, you never want to close credit cards, because anytime you close a credit card, it's going to remove all of that awesome payment history and age from your credit file. So if you have a 20-year credit card and you close it, the average age of your credit file is going to dramatically shrink, most likely. And also you remove all those on-time payments. So that's super, super huge right there.
So maybe I missed it, but did you go over which cards are the best cards to apply for if someone's just getting
Great question, Jared. So I'm going to list my top favorite banks. So Chase Bank is, in my opinion, the best by far. They have the best card products, best point programs. They have the best online banking portal. It's super, super easy to use. Auto pay is incredibly easy when you compare to something like Bank of America, which it's not that easy. So Chase Bank, I always prioritize. I always recommend to all my clients, prioritize Chase Bank first. Secondly, US Bank has an awesome, awesome platform and really good cards. They have the US Bank Business Platinum, which is a 0% interest business card for the first 18 months. And so for anyone not familiar with the 0% interest part, there's an introductory period where it's 0% interest. So that could be 6 months, 12 months, or even up to 18 months. And so ideally, when you get a 0% card, you want to borrow that money, invest it into something that's going to make an ROI before that introductory period ends. So now you just borrowed the money for free, made a return, and then, obviously you're hoping that is continuing to cash flow. AMEX is an awesome card issuer. They're not like specifically a bank, but specifically for e-commerce, they're the best cards to have. So like the Business Platinum and the Business Gold, these are actually, they're not called credit cards, they're called charge cards. And so what that means is they don't have a preset spending limit. They have something that's called spending power. So and it's kind of like a muscle. The more you spend on it and more you pay it off, the bigger it's going to get. Just like, working out in the gym, the more you work out, the bigger your muscle is going to get. So your spending power the first month is only going to be a few grand, but once you spend it, pay it off, the next month it's going to double. And then you spend on it, pay it off, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, which is perfect in e-commerce because, it can grow with your store. And so just to emphasize again, it's just the American Express Gold and Platinum.
To touch on that, like when I first started my e-commerce business, I was using a debit card and I ran into so many issues, which a lot of you guys are using debit cards. And what happens is in the model that, in drop shipping, when a product takes off, you want to spend as much as you could on ads. And with Zendrop, you can fulfill your orders with a credit card also. So you don't want to be throttled. So getting, many lines, having multiple credit. Another thing too, for us, we always have at least 5 credit cards on our Facebook ad accounts, because if one of them ever gets shut off or 2 of them, or there's ever issues, you need to have backup cards, because you guys know if your ads go down, if they turn off, turning them back on, they're not optimized. You have to re-optimize them, and it can actually hurt your business a lot. So having, we've had days where we've spent $60,000 on Facebook ads in one day. And if I didn't have the credit to do that, I wouldn't have been able to scale my store. I would have been stuck spending whatever I could have spent at the time. So for those of you guys running e-commerce businesses, you have your Facebook ads and your fulfillment. All that stuff should be done on credit cards.
Yeah,
So
100%.
Jack,
I could not agree more. Yes.
I have a question I think might be helpful for some of our users. So I think a lot of our users are probably in their early 20s, which means that their credit history is very limited, and or they might not have credit history yet. So I know that we're talking about the best business cards, but going about developing a credit history to be approved for a business credit card, what would you recommend if that's in the space that they're in right now?
Okay. Yeah. Awesome question. So first step is going to be opening up different bank accounts at the top banks, because you want to start a relationship. They want to see you being a customer. They want to see transactions. They want to see trust, right? So if you have bank accounts with them, you're going to build that relationship. So first, I would get a personal checking at Chase and also a business checking at Chase. At US Bank, I would get a business checking there. Bank of America, get a business checking there. And I personally recommend to only do your personal banking at Chase, because it's the best platform, helps you build a relationship with them, and they're the most strict to get cards. When you're building your personal credit, you don't want to apply for too many personal cards in a very short period of time. On the business cards, you can get 10 in a day, and because it doesn't report to your personal credit, that's fine. But on the personal side, you don't want to do more than one personal card every 2 months. Basically, if you're over 3 in a 6-month window, that looks extremely risky to banks. So that's why it's important to build this over time, and then you're gonna create an awesome credit file. Another awesome trick that people can do a little bit younger that don't have much credit history is to get added on someone else's card as an authorized user. And so basically what this does, it piggybacks off of someone else's account. So say, for example, my dad had a credit card for the last 20 years and it's a $20,000 limit. I could get added onto that card as an authorized user, and basically that card would now show up on my credit file and make it look like I've been paying those payments for the last 20 years. So it really adds the payment history, adds the age, and also adds the limit. And there's no risk to the card holder, because they just add you to the account and the bank sends them a card. They can chop up the card. I have no access to their account, but now it's helping my credit file. So if you're a little bit younger, or actually anyone should really have 1 to 2 authorized users that report to their personal credit file. So if that's something you don't have yet, I would probably focus on that first.
I actually did that. So when I first started my dropshipping store, so I had student loans when I was like 19 or 20, and I had no like financial knowledge at all. I was late on my student loan payments. My credit score went down to like 500, and I couldn't get a credit card for more than like a $3,000 limit or something ridiculous. And that was useless to me when I was dropshipping. So I asked my grandma, she had great credit, if I could become an authorized user. And I used that credit card for like a year. And it was like, if I didn't have that credit card, I don't think I could have scaled. But that was a store that scaled from 0 to $2 million in 60 days. If I didn't have that credit card, I couldn't spend 20 grand a day on ads. I mean, at the time I was wiring money and to my supplier because Zendrop didn't exist. But had I been able to pay for my supplies with my credit card too, and I have millions of credit card points now, but I would have twice as many if I could fulfill my orders with it too. Jack, a question for you that I think would be helpful to a lot of people here. Sorry, the dogs. If you're international, if you're an international person, do you have any insight onto credit for people that don't live in the US?
Yes. So American Express caters to a lot of people that are not US citizens. Other banks, it's a little bit more difficult, but American Express is a really good one to start with. So I think it obviously depends on what country, but like from the UK, Canada, Mexico, probably many others as well, but American Express would be a good spot to start.
So does anyone listening like had any issues getting credit cards, or maybe just haven't thought about the benefits of credit yet? Because I want to reiterate, you want to be prepared for when your first campaign hits. You don't want to be caught on your heels. Oh shit, things are taking off. Let me try to remember everything Jack told us. Like, you guys should start building your credit now so that when things do take off, I know it's kind of hard to imagine spending $10,000 a day on ads and 20 grand a day in cost of goods, but it'll happen. So I don't know if anyone's had any issues getting credit or has any questions, go ahead and put it in the chat box. I have another question, Jack. When it comes to business credit cards, is it just simple, like just form an LLC on LegalZoom and use that, or should you use any type of certain entity, or what are your thoughts there?
Great question, Jared. So You need an LLC to open up a business checking account and for credit cards. I recommend filing one on incfile.com, incfile.com. They only charge you the state filing fee, super easy. But file an LLC, go open up the business checking accounts, and then get an EIN, and then apply for the cards that way.
So right when you get an EIN, you can apply for cards.
Correct. You need the EIN for the application.
So
and then
and you can get an EIN right away. Like if you file for I've done it. If you file for an LLC, if you do it with the company and you ask them for an EIN, sometimes it takes a few days, but you can also just you can Google get EIN, go to the government website, and you can get an EIN number same day.
Yeah, 100%. And then two things I just kind of remember that I want to emphasize. The two best cards for ads is going to be the Chase Business Inc. Preferred and the Amex Business Gold. The Amex Business Gold is 4x points per dollar spent on advertising. And then the Inc. Preferred is 3x. And then when you have the Chase Sapphire Reserve, the best personal Chase travel card, you can combine the points from the Chase Inc. Preferred to the Chase Sapphire Reserve. And then when you redeem it through statement credit or through travel, you get a 50% bonus. So that basically puts you at 4.5 points per dollar on the Chase Inc. Preferred if you have the reserve.
So if you're spending $100 a day on ads, you can get 450 points per day. So in 100 days, you guys can have 45,000 points, which could pay for how many flights is that? Like 2 or 3 flights?
Exactly. And so that's at a 1 cent to point ratio. And then if you use, if you transfer the points from the Chase portal to a transfer partner airline, you can even, you can get multiple first class tickets to London for that price. And then I'll do another example.
Wow.
I have, very similar. And the good thing about the Chase cards is you can combine all of the points into the card that gives you the best redemption value. And so, I have like 5 different Chase cards: the Inc. Cash, Inc. Preferred, Inc. Unlimited, Chase Sapphire Reserve, tons. But when you spend on these cards, you can combine all the points onto the Chase Sapphire Reserve. And when you redeem through the Chase Sapphire Reserve, you get a 50% bonus on points. So if you have 100,000 points and you redeem them through travel or the pay yourself back feature, you actually have a value of 150,000 points, which is value of $1,500. So you get that free $500 just by having a top card and redeeming it through travel.
So we got a question. How much credit should you ask for on your first business credit card?
Always ask for more as much as possible. Ask for 60 grand. With like the normal business credit cards, they generally only go up to about 50K. And it really just depends on what your personal credit file looks like, the relationship you have with the bank, the business type, and the estimated revenue. And obviously the age on the LLC helps, the collected revenue helps. And then when you apply for the cards, it's generally best if you apply in branch or over the phone compared to online, because there's so much credit card fraud that happens online. So your best bet is to go in the branch.
Or if you call in, you're better off than doing it online.
Correct. And then here's another awesome tip for you guys. If you ever have a card denial, or if it says like we can't give you a decision right now, Google the bank name and reconsideration line. So if you get a denial on Chase, type in Chase reconsideration line, call that number and say, hey, I was wondering what I was just approved for. And they'll say, well, looks like you weren't approved. I'm like, okay, well, can you reconsider that decision? They'll reconsider it, send it to a human being, and then you might get a yes.
I've done that before. We got another question. So Amex Gold versus Amex Platinum, which one do you recommend for e-commerce? I'm just gonna shut my door because my dog's barking.
Okay, cool. So for e-commerce, it kind of depends on what kind of e-commerce. If you're running ads, definitely the business gold. But if you want the travel benefits as well, the platinum's awesome. They're both like very similar cards. This one has more travel benefits. This one's good for advertising, but they both are the charge cards, so they can scale up every single month. So it kind of just depends. If you're doing Shopify running ads, I would do business gold. But if you want to, have the travel benefits, then the platinum's better. Yeah. And so anyone listening to this call, in my opinion, every single purchase should be in any business should be on a credit card if they allow you to pay with a credit card. Because if you pay cash, you're not getting the cash back. You're not getting points. You're not building a relationship with the bank. If you have $100,000, you can spend through a credit card versus paying cash. If you spend it through the credit card, one, you're getting points or you're getting cash back. And then two, you're generating, you're maximizing your relationship with that lender because they see so much money going in. So that's going to help you get higher limits, more cards, amazing things. I'll spend like 99% of my business transactions through my credit cards.
I think a lot of people struggle. I mean, I struggled with the fear of loss. Like when I bought my first nice car, I didn't want to get a loan, even though it was a smarter financial decision to do so, because I can use my money to make more money. But I had this, because I didn't come from money and I was always struggling growing up, I had this inherent fear that I would lose everything and that I'd be stuck in debt. But I guess my point is that if you can think through your plan and you're confident in the plan, you think it from start to finish, using credit makes much more sense, especially if you're not paying interest on the credit. You might as well use the bank's money, get all the benefits, and free up your money to do other things.
Absolutely. So it's the best 0% business cards. I'll just list my favorite if anyone wants to take notes on the best 0% cards. It's going to be the in no particular order, the Bank of America Business Advantage Cash Rewards. That's 0% for 9 months. The Chase Business Inc. Unlimited, 0% interest for 12 months. The American Express Business Blue Cash, 0% for 12 months. And the US Bank Business Platinum is 0% for 18 months. So you borrow that, you get approved the card, you borrow the money, you spend on something where you can make an ROI within 18 months, and you're just borrowing money for free.
So just to differentiate, guys, a charge card like the AMEX Platinum, you have to pay back each month. But the US Business Platinum card that you had mentioned, it's 0% interest for 18 months. So you can put something on it today that you can make let's say you wanted to buy a house, or I don't know, that's a bad example, but something. Let's say you wanted to buy inventory for your store. There's a much better example for this call. You buy inventory, you go and sell it, and then you pay back the card, and you can go, instead of buying 1,000 units of something because you only have 20 grand in your bank account, you can go buy 5,000 units of it using your credit, and then you can make much more profit. You don't have to throttle your ads and wait for the inventory to come in, and you pay off the card within 18 months. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, and I think you can accelerate so much faster, which will increase your chance of success. Obviously you have your overhead in any business, and the faster you can accelerate, the smaller that overhead becomes in your overall, your profitability. So I think, having more money to start for me has been a no-brainer on all my companies. And I've really only been able to do that through accessing business credit cards. And I'm also a major advocate of putting as much money of my personal savings into long-term investments like stock market, crypto, real estate, and then literally only using 0% interest business cards for my businesses. Like if I can borrow money for free from the banks at 0% interest, why wouldn't I? At the same time, my personal savings are in long-term assets, so I have more money working for me, all growing at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it's just true. We're not taught financial literacy in school, and most of our parents don't teach us financial literacy either because they're not financially literate. But once you can grasp the concept that your money should be working for you, and the money you need to run your business should be borrowed for free and making you more points and things like that. Once you can grasp that concept, it makes total sense right after you get off this call to go and start building your credit card so that when you're ready to start scaling a business, you're prepared. You have all the financial needs you need to do it. I mean, you're making me want to go open more credit cards right now. And I literally have like 20 sitting in my drawer.
And I think if you think about 6 months ago, or maybe 8, when you could have bought Bitcoin at $10,000, Imagine having $10,000 and using that $10,000 of personal savings into your business and not putting it in Bitcoin. That just costed you a 500% return on your money just by putting your personal savings into your business as opposed to Bitcoin in this example.
Yeah. Kennedy, we have a few more questions. You want to go through them?
Yeah. So Christopher asked, what are some good cards to apply for if you have average credit?
Yeah. So, average credit, I'm assuming is that you're referring to something in the 600s. I would just start with the bottom tier cards. So for example, at Chase, the Chase Freedom Unlimited, the Chase Freedom Flex, anything that, generally doesn't have an annual fee is more their elementary card. But if your credit is in the 600s, there's probably maybe something, not perfect with it. So that might be your utilization. So you might have high utilization on multiple accounts. So bring that utilization down. If you have late payments, I would dispute those. I would hire a credit repair specialist to get those removed. If anyone has any collections, you just have to bite the bullet and get them removed. If you do have collections, I would honestly advise not to pay them unless they specifically agree that if you pay it, they will delete it off of your credit file. Because even if you pay a collection, that's still going to stay on your credit file for the next 7 years after you pay it. So if you have credit that's not 700 or above, there's something that's not right. So either it's late payments, collections, it's high utilization, things like that. So to bring your utilization down, just make sure you pay off each card prior to 5 days before the statement closing date. So you can max out a personal card, but just pay it off prior to 5 days before the statement closing date, because then it brings that balance down. It reports at zero. And then whatever reports, it's stuck there for 30 days, and then it will update again in 30 days.
Very good tips there.
I use a system that's probably pretty useful. I have a spreadsheet because we have, for our business, we have many credit cards. Personally, I have many credit cards. And sometimes it gets confusing, like trying to log into all the accounts and see like, how much I have to pay off for this one, when the date is, things like that. So we have a spreadsheet with all of our balances and what date the reporting date is, so that we're making sure that we do it and it's keeping it organized. So I'd probably recommend doing something like that and just fill it in each day. Go through, make it part of your morning routine, and eventually when you hire someone who's a CFO or runs your financials, that's a great job for them to do. That's what we do, and it's extremely useful. Just keep organized.
Yeah, staying organized is key. Definitely don't want to miss a payment.
Another question for you, Jack. This is actually really interesting for me because I feel like I'm not leveraging my points strongly enough. So you were saying there's ways to transfer your AMEX points directly to airlines so that you can get more benefits as opposed to using the AMEX points to book the flight on AMEX?
Definitely.
So what's that all about?
Yeah, so when you use your points, you want to make sure you're at least getting a 1 cent to 1 point ratio, which if you have 100,000 points, that's $1,000, right? So one of the best ways you can redeem the points is through the airline portal, right? It's a pretty good way to use them. You get the bonus on Chase, you get the 50% bonus. On AMEX, you get the 30% rebate, which is great. But if you want to take it to the next level, what Jared was referring to, if you actually transfer the points to the airline directly, you can get insane deals. So when I look for flights, I'll look on 4 different browsers. I'll type in Google Flights, see what airlines are flying to the destination I want to fly to. And, if it's United and, Emirates, I'm going to go to each of those websites and see how many points they are requiring to book that flight. So United might say 60,000, Emirates might say 30,000. And I know I can transfer points either from Chase or Amex to Emirates. So I'll go to Amex and see how many points it costs to book that same flight. And if it's more than 30,000, I'm going to then just transfer the 30,000 directly to Emirates, and then it transfers immediately into Emirates points. And then I'll book that Emirates flight with those points that I just transferred in. And so just to recap, check what each airline is going to cost in points and then see what Chase and Amex also cost for that same flight. And if it's cheaper in points on those airline websites directly, just transfer the points and then book it there.
Does this same rule apply for hotels?
Hotels, it's a bit, you don't get as good as deals.
Okay. So when you transfer your points from Amex to an airline, it's a 1-to-1 transfer. So 100,000 points go to 100,000 points.
It's either 1-to-1 or sometimes there's bonuses where there's like a 25% bonus, sometimes a 50% bonus. It kind of just really
never
depends.
Less. But it's never less. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Good to know.
Wow. That's actually, that's pretty sick. I'm gonna have to do that. So you have like frequent flyer accounts with all these airlines, so you log in and see how much they cost in points, or can you check it like if you're not a member?
Good question. I'm not sure if you can check if you're not a member. I think I'm a member at most, but it's a good question. I actually don't know.
Okay, that's a really good tip, guys. So when you guys start scaling your e-commerce business, you're gonna get a shitload of credit card points. Make sure you check all the airlines before you book flights to see which ones are giving the best deals on points, because you can save a lot of money. I mean, if you're flying 10 times a year and you could save 50% on each flight and use points, you can fly twice as much for really no money. It's
yeah, for real. And I have a quick example. So I have an Amazon automation store that our biggest month was $500,000. And at that point, I was literally extending all my credit cards, maxing all of them out, which forced me to use my personal cards, which I generally don't recommend in business, but at this point I had to. I had a $50,000 limit on this Freedom Unlimited card. So I spent the $50K in a month, and on this card, it's a 1.5x points. So that 50,000 spend turned into 75,000 points. Then I combined those points to my Chase Sapphire Reserve because I get the 50% bonus when I do the pay yourself back feature or for travel on that card. So that 75,000 points turned into like 1,200, 120,000 points about, which is about $1,200. So if I did that for 12 months, that's like, I don't know, it's like 15 grand or something like that, just in the cash back through points. And that's one card.
It goes into your personal savings that you can go invest in the stock market or crypto or anything else. Extra money, just free money.
Exactly. So I think, real quick. So I think, people can be well off by using debit cards, by using cash, things like that. But I think there's a massive opportunity cost by not taking advantage of them. So I've never heard of an example where it's like they're using credit cards and they're not more well off, right? So there's always a massive advantage.
Robin asks, what are the best airlines that you've used in terms of cheapest with points?
Emirates has some pretty awesome deals.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, but definitely check. The good deals will come. So definitely check. Don't sleep on them.
And then Juan asks, can you trust airline credit card offers compared to bank credit cards just to get the miles, or are they not as good in general?
I mean, they're pretty good. I would, I generally look for something that's at least 60, 80,000 to 100,000 points. 100,000 is really good. 80,000 is still pretty good. 60 is getting kind of lower. When you look at the hotel points, you'll see a lot more. You'll get a lot more points with hotel points, like 150,000, but hotel points aren't worth as much. So if you can get 80,000 airline points, in my opinion, that's better than getting 150,000 Hilton points. So my favorite airline cards, my favorite card is the United Club card. It's a Chase card, and it helps you get airline lounge access. So anytime I travel, I just go to the United Lounge, get free food, free drinks, a great place to chill. And then also you get lounge access through the American Express Platinum card, and then also the Chase Sapphire Reserve card. So if anyone loves traveling and doesn't have the top travel cards like the Business Platinum or the Chase Sapphire Reserve, you're missing out right now. So try to get those top travel cards if you love traveling.
Oh.
Do you want to go through the other questions?
Yeah, I have a question that says, I have an LLC that just started for my e-commerce business. When applying to credit cards for business, will we need our personal address or can we use our business mailing address instead?
Business address.
Cool. And then Clancy clarified his question. What type of account should we get paid into? Where should our profits go? Does it matter? from their Shopify store.
Yeah, it should go into the bank account that you're trying to build the relationship with. And so like with my Amazon automation store, which was cranking, I sent all that money into Chase, right? So because of that, Chase sees them more liquid. And when I apply for Chase cards, they're much more inclined to give me much higher limits, right? So I'd say, at first send it to one bank, show them that you're liquid, maybe apply for a card if your credit is in good standing at that bank. And then, shift the payments to a different bank, maybe now US bank, put some money in that account, show them that you're liquid, and then apply for US bank card. Banks love to see, money coming in, obviously. So do that first and then apply for a card if you can.
Cool. And then Debbie asked, I recently registered for an LLC, but it was very unclear on where to get the EIN. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, of course. So it's actually super easy. Just Google EIN apply online, and then you'll see a link to the IRS website. You'll click it. You'll click the button that says apply online, and then you'll just go through the prompts. It's on the IRS website, and then you'll get it immediately. It takes like a 2-minute process to go through the application, but you should get it immediately. And then save the PDF of your EIN verification letter that it gives you, and save that to your email. Because if you lose that, it's not the easiest process to get another one. So definitely save it.
Yeah, great advice. I've lost that before.
Me too. It sucks.
And the ass. Anyone else have questions or want to jump up here? Are you in the Facebook group too, Kennedy? Any questions coming in there?
I am. So far, no questions from Facebook today. If you guys don't know, we do have a Facebook group called Zendrop Exclusive where we offer additional support to all of our users. So if you are not already a member there, it is Zendrop Exclusive on Facebook.
Right on. Yeah, Jack, this was super useful. I can't iterate enough that you want to be prepared. You don't want to be caught off. I was caught off guard when my store scaled. And I was luckily able to ask my grandma, who doesn't have a lot of money, but she's had an 800 credit score for like 50 years. So I was luckily able to ask her to make me an authorized user on her card so I can scale my ads and, and keep my business running. But if I didn't have that and I just had my debit card and bank account how I had it, I wouldn't have made nearly as much money. To be honest, maybe we wouldn't be here today. It's quite possible. So I can't iterate enough that being prepared is extremely important, and getting prepared is pretty easy. If you guys don't already have an LLC, open one up. It's like $200, maybe less.
Yeah, it's not that expensive.
And apply for business credit cards. You might as well get it all ready for that when this does start scaling, you're not caught off guard. We got another question from Robin. Can you quickly explain the credit score scale?
Yeah, so I mean, it's made up with many different factors, 5 factors. So there's utilization, mix of credit, payment history, new credit. I forgot the 5th one, but payment history is 1/3 of the score. It's like one of the biggest. Utilization is the 2nd biggest. So that's mainly what you want to focus on, keeping your utilization down and keeping your payments on time, and then making sure you don't have too many hard inquiries.
Never miss a payment.
Yeah. But real quick on what you're saying about preparation, Jared, I think it's so important, because I think anyone is so much more powerful in any business setting if you have access to more money, right? And getting access through credit has been the easiest way that I've found it to get access to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it's not very hard, but it does take time. It does take time to put in the work, to open up the bank accounts, to, stay, don't miss a payment, things like that, and always use your credit cards, but it's worth it. There's so many benefits. And when even if you don't have like an amazing idea where you need $100,000 to invest in, but you do have good credit that's been built for the last 2 years, now you can go to all the banks that you now have relationships with and apply for 4 to 5 cards and get $100,000 in 2 days. And so that is what this is really about. It's just, preparing yourself for epic opportunities when you need the money.
Yeah, and being mentally prepared in that phase. I mean, you hear the saying all the time, it takes money to make money, right? And if you have no money, you're not going to see a lot of opportunities. Like, you're going to be blind. So there's something I like to talk about called an opportunistic mindset. When you're walking through the world and you're feeling really good and you see opportunities everywhere, you're in a flow state. And if you're consistently thinking about how I have no money, no access to money, opportunities are going to walk right by you and you're not going to see them. But if you're walking through the world like, I have $200,000 of money I can use towards this, you might be talking to someone, or you might walk into a store and see a product, or you'll start seeing more and more opportunities. So building up that credit behind you will develop that opportunistic mindset. And you could take tomorrow, something could pop up that totally changes your life. That if you did, it doesn't hurt to be prepared. It doesn't hurt to feel like you have that behind you. There's no negative to it. The only positive is that you'll see more opportunities and you'll be ready when they come. So I'm really bullish on being prepared on this.
So
go ahead.
What would you define as a good credit score for those who don't understand the scale?
Yeah, so anything like 720 and up is good. Ideally, you want like a 780 and above. After 780, it doesn't really change much. But generally, if you don't have something in the 700s, there's something that's not right. And as I previously mentioned, it's usually utilization, a late payment, or like too many inquiries. But generally, it's one of those. So if you have a late payment, dispute it, call the bank, see if you can negotiate with them. If you can't, I would really recommend to hire someone in the credit repair space to get removed. Because if you have less than a 99% credit score, it's going to be very hard to get approved for top cards. If you have any collections, it's going to be really hard to get approved for what you want. So if you're someone that is in that position, I really recommend to just bite the bullet, find a credit repair specialist that can dispute it for you, get it cleaned off. Your score is going to shoot super high up, and then you're in a much better position. But if you have a collection, that's on your record for 7 years. So, you're kind of screwed unless you get it taken care of. So I really recommend getting it taken care of as soon as possible.
So how long does it take you to build enough good personal credit if you are new to building credit before applying for a business card?
Great question. So, you can do it in just a couple years. And I think you do that by applying for the low tier cards first. I would do one, if you're brand new, I would do one personal card every 90 days. I would start with the Discover student card, Discover cashback card. Discover is a very easy card to get. The Capital One card, those cards are very easy to get. Then do like the Chase Freedom Unlimited, work your way up. I would also highly recommend to take advantage of being an authorized user to 1 to 3 accounts. So maybe your mom has a card, maybe your dad, maybe your uncle. I would focus on 1 to 3 accounts that are really good accounts. So maybe your dad's card has an awesome limit, awesome age, no late payments, it's in perfect standing. Those are the types of cards you want to get listed to. That's going to add a ton of age to your personal credit and get you there faster. And I think once you're at between 3 and 5 personal primary accounts, then you're in a better position to start applying for the business cards. If you don't have at least 3, I would hold off. 5 is much better. If you have an auto loan, that helps. If you have mortgage, that helps as well. But you want to keep building. So 1 personal card every 2 to 3 months.
Cool. And then are there any benefits to personal loans versus credit card offers? Apparently Credit Karma and Experian are sending out personal loan offers like crazy.
Yeah, so it's a personal loan, which means it reports to your personal credit. So that's not something I'd specifically recommend. You can get a business credit card if you have good credit for only 1 hard inquiry, and you can get cards between $20,000 and $50,000 And then now it doesn't report to your personal credit. If you get a personal loan, it's going to show up on your personal credit. So anytime you apply for a card, all the lenders are going to see it. And they generally don't like seeing personal loans because, it looks like you're asking for money. You look risky. If you have business cards, they literally can't see the business card. So if you have a $20,000 business card at Bank of America, when you go to Chase and Amex, they can't see that $20,000 business card that Bank of America just gave you. So that's the sweetness of the business credit. It just doesn't report. So other banks just can't see it.
So, I mean, you got to also be careful with personal loans or business loans in general. I don't remember, Jack, if you remember, we took a loan for Dumbo and it was like the worst terms ever. It was like a small, like $15,000 loan. And I think we paid back like $5,000 of it. We owed more than $15,000 somehow. I don't even know how
that was a really bad deal. That was a big awakening on loans and credit.
What was that? Was it like a merchant cash advance or something we took?
I actually don't even remember. Was it on your credit or mine?
I don't remember. All I know is we paid back a bunch of it, and then we looked at the balance, and the balance was more than the total loan, and we're like, "What the hell?" We just took it because we needed cash to buy inventory, and it was a horrible decision. So be very careful with loans.
Yeah, very bad. So that's like, I think when you look at the business credit cards or any credit cards, it's much more simple, right? Especially when you have a 0% card, because it tells you 0% for X amount of months. And then just know, when that introductory period ends, that's when you have to start paying it off monthly. So if it's 0% for 12 months, you don't have to pay anything for 12 months. And then after 12 months, you then have to start paying.
So does applying for 2 or more credit cards from one bank reduce your chances of approval?
It does. It also can reduce the amount you get because it's split up on 2 cards now. Generally, like on Amex, I'll recommend to do 2 cards, like a charge card, like the gold, and a 0% business blue cash. Generally, you really want to do like one per bank, and then you go back to it.
We got another question. If we had a bank credit card, do we also need a checking account at that bank, or do we just get the credit card?
So it's always better to have a business checking account at the bank you're trying to get a business credit card at, always. So I would open up a business checking account at the bank you're trying to get the card at, put like $5,000, maybe $10,000, whatever you can put in, let it sit there for like 7 to 10 days or longer. Longer is better. And then apply. So have an account, put some money in it, do as many transactions as possible if you can, and then apply for the card.
I have a question here that I think I can answer. As you move up on the credit card ladder, when should you drop some cards? I think the answer is you shouldn't, right? Because you drop the card,
never.
Keep the credit cards open.
Keep them open. It only helps. They will deactivate them if you don't use them in like 6 to 12 months. So maybe just, buy a pack of gum like every 6 months on every card or whatever, or just it's also a very good habit to have one purchase on every personal card every single month and just turn on auto pay. So a part of your payment history portion of your credit score is the amount of on-time payments. So if you have 10 cards, but you're not using any of the 10 cards, you're not getting on-time payments. So if you put a subscription on each of the cards and get an on-time payment for those 10 cards, it's going to really help you out. And then also, if you have a card that has a annual fee that you don't want to pay, just ask them to downgrade you to the free option. They'll do it for you. Just don't close it.
Great advice. And also be careful. Another thing that I did that was really stupid. Years ago, I had a credit card connected to a bank account and I had auto pay on, and that bank account didn't have enough money in it. And they tried to pull the money out of it, and then it got returned, and then it counted as a late payment, and they shut my credit card down, which hurt my credit score even more. So just make sure if you have auto pay on, you have sufficient funds in that bank account.
Yeah, that's huge.
We have a question from Robin. Applications for bank accounts and credit cards, can they be done remotely or do we need to go into the bank? Asking
So
because
it's
she's in Australia with US bank accounts.
okay. So of course it's always best to go in the branch, but if you're not, I would apply online. Maybe you can do it on the phone. That's a good question. I'd say try on the phone because it's always, better if they can talk to you on the phone. It's more credible. But if that doesn't work, I would use a VPN and just set the VPN location to the closest city to wherever the main address is on your personal credit. So if you're in, Washington, set it to Seattle, and that will be the location, which will definitely help. But if they see an application from Australia, they're going to deny that if it's not on VPN.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know what a VPN is, it's just a service you can connect to, and it makes your IP address based in whatever city you want it to be in. When Jack and I went to China, that's actually how I learned about a VPN. In China, they ban Google and Facebook and Gmail and any of those products. So anytime we wanted to go on Facebook or Instagram or Google or Gmail or whatever, we'd have to go into a VPN that said we're in the US. So just for fraud detection purposes, having a VPN in the city would probably be a better idea than doing it.
Yeah, I agree. And then I'll just plug myself real quick, but if anyone has any questions, definitely shoot me a DM on Instagram. My handle is King of Debt. Shoot me a follow, shoot me a DM. Happy to answer any questions. And I also actually have a free course. It's 10 videos, talk all about personal credit, business credit, some really cool stuff in a free course. And if you guys want access to it, just shoot me a DM, just say Zendrop, and then I'll shoot you the link for it.
That's awesome. Yeah, you guys should definitely take Jack up on that offer. It's at King of Debt on Instagram. And shoot him a DM with Zendrop, and he'll give you access to a free video series on all this stuff. Kenny, any other pressing questions before we wrap this one up?
So David asked, this might be a good question too. David asked, do you use credit cards for static fees such as Shopify store and dues, or just strictly for ads?
Everything.
90.
I use credit cards for 100% of the transactions that I can use a credit card on.
That's some useful information. Yeah, there you go. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for attending this Zendrop Live. Thank you, Jack, for being on. And this will actually be on YouTube tomorrow. So if you want to go back and look at any of the information that Jack talked about, it'll be there for you guys. And we'll shoot you guys an email through Zendrop when it's live.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jack. It's been a pleasure having you on here, my friend.
Awesome. Well, guys, I really appreciate you having me on, and thanks for everyone listening. It's been an awesome time with everyone.
Everyone have a great rest of your evening, and we'll talk soon.
All right. See ya.